Part 2. Please remember, these are no-brainer questions about my God's awesome power through his known past deeds. Quote, did I not bring Israel up out of the land of Egypt and the Philistines from Cappadocia? Stop. According to the International Standard Bible Encyclopedia under Cappadocia, quote, in the Septuagint, Cappadocia stands for Captor, Capphtor, and other versions have the same reading. Example, I don't want to get too bogged down with this fact right now, but believe me, my guys will. We will prove this monumental feat through the scriptures and history. Long story short, I remember doing a video about how Uncle Joseph served under a Hyksos pharaoh who used our uncle's blessed wisdom and understanding to totally despoil the Egyptians of all of their money, land, homes, cattle, and everything else they had during the 7-year famine to survive. Ironic thing though, the same word, Avidim, Avadim, which is slave, used to describe how the Hyksos played the Egyptians, is the exact same word used to describe our 400-year bondage here in America. So as you can pretty much see, this is the reason why the new king didn't give a darn about Joseph or the Israelites. Saying that, under the rule and at the behest of the Hyksos, Nubian and Canaanite tribes who had infested Egyptian-controlled part of Egypt systematically started to buck in the Egyptian vassal states every time a new pharaoh came to power. History and the Bible dictates the Hyksos reigned in the 15th through the 17th dynasties. That can only mean the first king with full authority to make such a decree would have to be an aboriginal ruler of the 18th dynasty, which was Thutmose I, or maybe even a later pharaoh. I don't know. But what we do know that it had to be after the 17th dynasty ended. Question. We all know the Exodus 1 and 8 story, right? The new king came to power and from nowhere and out of the blue started their Egyptian affliction Stockholm-Helsinki syndrome operation on our ancestors, and for the strangest reasons at that. Check it out. Exodus 1 and 8 in the Septuagint. Quote, and there arose up another king over Egypt, who knew not Joseph, and he said to his nation, behold, the race, what? The race of the children of Israel is a great multitude, and is stronger than we. Come then, let us deal craftily with them, lest at any time they be increased, and whensoever war shall happen to us, these also shall be added to our enemies, and having prevailed against us in war, they will depart out of the land. Example. Question. Am I the only person who now find this decree backwards? Ask again. Am I the only person who now find this decree backwards? I mean, if a nation that is more, mightier, with the backing of other enemies prevail over you, the last thing they will do is depart out of the land. No, ladies and gentlemen. This decree was mainly meant for the Egyptian satellite / vassal nations where the Israelites were in bondage also. And to prove what I just said and bring it back around to why we started this topic in the first place, yes, my God saved a large remnant of the Philistines because we were mixed in with them. Check it out. According to Wikipedia under Thutmose II, under campaigns, quote, upon Thutmose's coronation, Cush rebelled as it had the habit of doing upon the transition of Egyptian kingship. The Nubian state had been completely subjugated by Thutmose I, but some rebels from Captor rose up and the Egyptian colonists retreated into a fortress built by Thutmose I. On account of his relative youth at the time, Thutmose II dispatched an army into Nubia rather than leading it himself, but he seems to have easily crushed this revolt with the aid of his father's military generals. Example. So as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, this is why the new king said what he said in the book of Exodus. What? I don't know why my God will save the Philistines also. But I have an educated guess though. As we will see in a later video, the major part of the Philistines are not a part of the specific Adam seed. And as we can also see through the surviving images, the Egyptians also had their fair share of Nephilim as well. What I'm saying is, just like the earlier scriptures attest, mortal man that can be put to death by their enemies, so be it. But because the Egyptians were not under the same decree of killing everything that breathed, they would have allowed some of the Nephilim to remain alive. Thus, the iniquity of the Amorites would have raged on. I think the Most High saved the remaining Philistines who escaped by rounding them up into one centralized location like that. Did it for a reason. Why? So my ancestors could come and finish them off once and for all. I can only think on my level, and that is what my level would do if I had the power in the same situation. That's all. Now I said all of that to say, yes, my God did do what he said he did. But that was only the tricky part. Are you guys ready for the big fig mutant? Thus, the beginning of looking at the scriptures with fresh eyes? Remember, these are no-brainer past deed questions designed to show my God is the man. Quote, did I not bring Israel up out of the land of Egypt? Yes, Yah. Yes, you did. And the Philistines from Cappadocia? Yes, Yah. Yes, you did. And the Syrians out of the deep? Stop. What? Let me read that again. Please pay special attention to the last 7 words. Quote, did I not bring Israel up out of the land of Egypt? And the Philistines from Cappadocia / Captor? And the Syrians out of the deep? Stop. When I asked Google, what does the deep mean in the Septuagint? She said, quote, Tahom, literally the deep or abyss. Greek Septuagint, abyssos, refers to the great deep of the primordial waters of creation in the Bible. According to Wikipedia under Tahom, T-E-H-O-M, quote, as such, it was equated with the earlier Sumerian Tiamat. Tahom is first mentioned in Genesis 1 and 2, where it is translated as deep. It was from here that the waters of Noah's flood had their origin, and the place that God temporarily receded the Red Sea for the Israelites to pass over before destroying the pursuing Egyptian army. Example, I told you Lords of the Rings can't hold a candle to the scriptures. So as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, 3 mass migrations of people that was a no-brainer to our ancestors, with one of them being a people my God brought up from Middle Earth he called Syrians. Notice, it doesn't call them Assyrians. This demon horde came by the sea. Now before you start doubting, I will give you the old scribe one too. Take this. According to Wikipedia under Assyrian people. Subtitle, Assyrian versus Syrian controversy. Quote, as early as the 8th century BC, Luwian and Sicilian rulers with an S referred to their Assyrian overlords as Syrian, a Western Indo-European corruption of the original term Assyrian. Stop. Bingo. Why bingo, you ponder? Because when you look in the Wikipedia under Luwian, Luwian, and Sicilian, Cilician, you read this. Quote, the Luwians were a group of Indo-European speaking people who lived in Western Asia Minor and the northern Western Levant in the Bronze Age and the Iron Age. Stop. Which can only mean their kings, with an S, had kings, with an S. Notice the time period of their origin. Yep, the exact same ages as the Hyksos and the Sea Peoples. They were two nations within an already diversified humanity that ascended upon the earth. By God's will, this is how the giants returned during the iniquity of the Amorites in Granddaddy Abraham's day, talked about in Genesis 15 and Numbers 13. The royal class of Syrians, Syrians, the royal class of Syrians came out of the primordial waters with their own diversified commoner society in tow, not just one nation of people, and took over the Amorite land, modern-day Syria, and spread out. These facts bring home the severity of what our ancestors truly did, meaning even though they knew the people in surrounding areas were not of the specific Adam and Eve, thus inhumans, they still went a-whoring after them. Think about it like a Martian for just a minute. What happened was the equivalent of the United Nations invading Mars, a wide variety of nations invading a common nation. Check out how Wikipedia describes the Syrians and tell me if you can't see a fly in the ointment.